What do you think is the real way that Italy can become Italy again? Does it have to break away from the EU?
Well, that's a great question. I'm happy that he's an American living in Italy to make it. Italy is getting worse. Italy is getting so much worse. I used to work for the European Union in Brussels. When I left, I was hoping that no other country in Europe would become Brussels. At some point, we were not allowed to have the image of Jesus anymore. Italy, as a member state of the European Union, doesn't have the autonomy to decide for its borders. So that's why renegotiation of access to European Union or exit European Union would be the only way to get rid of these problems. And that's what really people were expecting by Giorgia Meloni. What I really like about America, it's freedom.
Exactly.
To understand Americans, people have to understand freedom. And that's what I love about America. Sorry,
Exactly.
Italy. Sorry, Italy.
Simona Mangiante Papadopoulos. Perfect pronunciation.
Perfetto. Now that you're in Europe, you can pronounce both surname, George and mine, very well.
Yeah, I hope I pronounce it better than a lot of the other people at the American conferences when they introduce you guys.
Yes, true. Okay, let's
But
just do like that.
you're from Italy. You have
Uh-huh, full Italian.
amazing, fully Italian, 100%.
100% italiana.
And but you've also been exposed to some serious political circles because of George, your husband.
Yeah, of
And
course. Because I happened to meet the guy that still goes missing, Mifsud, the Maltese professor that was also enjoying Italy for a while. And my thought it is still there.
and you've gotten to see both sides of it, living in Italy, living in the States, especially the deep stuff that goes on in the US that you experienced with George, like 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
And first I wanted to know, when did you actually move from Italy to the US? When was your first time going?
Well, I moved in 2018, like so, where it was March. No, it was like September, something like 2018 beginning. And but I was not living in Italy. I used to work for the European Union in Brussels. So I'm not coming straight from Italy to United States. I have a long time experience with European Union institutions. So I lived previously. I studied and worked in Brussels as well.
Wow. Okay. So, just based on that, was the EU and Brussels as bad as it is now?
I didn't come back to Brussels for a long time now, but I remember last when I left is that I was hoping that no other country in Europe would become Brussels. Like you have this massive immigration that it's based mostly on state aids, like for families, children, and attracts most of the North African crowd that have a place there. So, but what happened is that it's not simply like these immigration flows that are imposing their culture. I remember being literally scared of uh, going just with my car and my friends alone in the city. It was brutal, and it was not simply about immigration flows as it began taking over a new culture in a Western country. And I thought this was a trend that was going on in Paris, in France, that now is completely, we see completely deformed in its identity. There is no French identity anymore, at least as, the stereotypes make the French identity. And Germany as well. Germany, everybody talks about Germany. Germany is overwhelmingly populated by Turks, and other parts of the world. So I feel like there's been a progressive uh, invasion, let's say, of the Middle East in Europe, and is now slowly taking over Italy, starting from the north, while we have Giorgia Meloni in power, which is supposed to be right the most Italy first and identity savior. So it's the biggest contradiction that I see in what's going on politically in Italy. But this trend comes from Europe for sure, and I've seen it in 2000, already in 2009 when I was working and studying actually at the time still at European Union. in Brussels, and then it's been a trend that took over slowly. Remember in Brussels, for example, that at some point we were not allowed to have the image of Jesus anymore because we have to some sort of apologize for the Judeo-Christian roots of Europe and starting to take over this other trend, which, as I said, it's not like a judgmental about certain culture. What I'm saying is just like a fact that has been changing Europe over time. So we're not making like maybe you say it's like, oh, you're talking like this, like that. You're no, absolutely not. There is no value, judgment in value of cultures. It's just a fact in a assessment of how this culture have taken over Europe and how Europe have been changing over time.
Yeah, it's true. They do take over and they don't assimilate. Well, last year when I lived in the northeast of Italy, in Friuli, there's a city, smaller city called Monfalcone. It's like, I don't know, hour away from Venezia, hour and a half, and it's where they make cruise ships. And there's a big piazza, big plaza in the center for all the non-Italian speakers that are watching, and it's taken over on a Friday night with probably 1,000 Bangladeshi people, and the Italians that are trying to enjoy like an aperitivo, a drink. They don't feel relaxed because not only do they take over, but they don't fit into the culture, and they have kids playing with balls, running. They don't do that in Italy, right? Maybe in America, but it's a fact that they do take over, and it's interesting that you saw it back in 2009.
Yes, I did.
And
Uh,
what?
uh, Sorry, I interrupt you. You were
No, go
asking a
ahead.
question. No, no. I mean, something that I really, the beauty of Brussels at the time was that it's in the very heart of Europe. So with TGV, we go to Paris, and then you go to London with Eurostar. So you're a train hour away from the heart of Europe. So I used to enjoy weekends with my friends in different cities, different capitals, and I saw them slowly changing. And the problem associated with this change is the lack of safety
Yeah.
because we are not in the best economic shape. So, besides the political appeal of ac- accepting all this immigration, not illegal immigration flaws that translate into votes for the left, right? There is also an issue of regulation, lack of safety, assimilation, integration, and all of that has been neglected up to the point that we don't recognize our old identities anymore because Europe, even compared to the United States, is such an old continent, right? We have so
Mm.
much history. We are rooted in so many different cultures. So it's even very different being Italian and being French, right? Even though people might think that we're such a close neighbors.
Oh, you guys are like rivals.
Exactly, right? We say that French are Italians in bad mood, constantly in bad mood, that they don't clean themselves.
And Simona, it's the Gioconda, not the Mona Lisa.
Oh, no, no, it's Mona Lisa. For them, joking, it's Gioconda. I was joking. I was making the French point, like for them, it's Mona Lisa. Not Gioconda, Gioconda. It has a little smile that shows why.
Esatto, esatto. But what did you see in 2009 in your time in the EU that was the real reason they were incentivizing and allowing and setting up programs for this gradual illegal immigration growth? What was, you think, based on your inside knowledge and seeing stuff, why were they really doing that and setting that up?
Well, there is this what I perceived in the corridors of the European Union, like as talking points of the left wing, the Socialist Party of Europe, is that there is this long time overdue guilt for whatever happened during Second World War. So this rhetoric of acceptance and inclusion to gain votes uh, was pushed to an extent of non-control and not rational uh, management of immigration. So we were not in the best shape. Let's be realistic. Even though people think Germany is the best economy in Europe, it's not anything comparable, for example, to the economy of the United States, right? So we're far away from this standard. Yet we are here flaunting the capability of acceptance, which is more a moral rhetoric used by the Socialist Party than a factual. political agenda or a feasible political agenda. So this, and there's something really that went that experienced it firsthand was the ISIS attacks. You know, from Charlie Hebdo, Paris to the airport in Brussels, we start to have this
Mm.
uh, Islamism taking over our city and senseless deaths of terroristic attacks. So that in the Christmas market in Germany, to the south of France, to the Jewish school, you had all this explosion of kamikaze, basically the equivalent of kamikaze, people ready to die, to explode, that really start to terrify people. No, it's a culture of terror, and this slightly change perspective also toward the communities, also the good part of these communities that had nothing to do with terrorists, right? Nobody's assimilating them for sure. But it's been an issue ever since. And when it comes to compare what I've seen in Europe to what I see in America today, well, I see a strong president that doesn't take any BS and says, I'm not gonna let this happen in Europe. And he does it. He says things for what they are, even though they sound politically incorrect. But since I saw what means the long-term consequences of being politically correct in Europe, I love Donald Trump talking like that. And people shouldn't appreciate the risk is trying to prevent when it comes to United States safety.
So you've seen Trump be strong. You've seen him set up these amazing policies in the U.S. right now with deportations, with stopping the border crossings from being at a high of 60,000 in one day to now like 30, 40, 50, maybe 100. And yet we have Giorgia Meloni, who is supposed to be like a big Trump ally, according that's how she seems to promote herself. And yet, as I go around Italy the last 2 years, living in it, going around it, and when I talk to Italians, it's like they wonder, I thought she was going to do something about how Italy's being taken over, and it doesn't seem like anything's going on. Do you think that she's not lived up to this hype? And why do you think there's still all these issues and frustrations with Meloni?
Well, that's a great question. I'm happy that he's an American living in Italy to make it because I've been saying that for a while. Like, despite the beautiful slogan, Italy is getting worse. Italy is getting so much worse, right? I've been like even George and I we've been to Italy every year. Like we go multiple times a year, and we have seen it changing over the last 6 years.
Hmm.
Like you don't see the same cities, including Rome. If you go to the certain area of Rome, you wouldn't recognize it as Italian as well. So why Giorgia Meloni is doing that? I've been saying that before. Like Giorgia Meloni can't win election over immigration talks, even if she flaunted these points, saying, "I want to." Save. I want to protect Italy from these invasions. I want to do this and this and that. But I said there is one issue before, and it's the European Union.
Hmm.
Italy as a member state of the European Union doesn't have the autonomy to decide for its borders. So that's why renegotiation of access to the European Union or exit European Union would be the only way to get rid of these problems. And that's what really people were expecting by Giorgia Meloni. She was once upon a time, she was a big, big supporter of Italy exit, right? Because this is the only way. And when you look at all the inflation that European Union caused to the currency, when we had lira to euro, that didn't add up in 20 years, right? So now you don't really see the benefits of European Union. We don't have an army, you don't have a constitution, we are not any type of recognizable entity. We don't have one interlocutor. We have, even President Trump doesn't know who to talk to. One time is Meloni, the other time is Macron. Everything is like you don't have like a voice. So Ursula von der Leyen, of course, when she comes, she accepts to meet Trump in his own property in Europe, right? So which kind of image we project. So, we have a very weak image as European leadership. And I think that Giorgia Meloni really played the rhetoric without taking care of the issues. Issues is European Union, the condition of European Union, which we can control our borders, and taking it from there, real management of what is going on in Italy, and is only getting worse.
And you know, based on your experience with George with the Russia Gate and how much they try to move stuff behind the scenes, how they try to set people up, how they try to create a scandal, that there's a lot of behind the scenes pressures, manipulations, talks that go on that can get somebody like Meloni, who's campaigning in this strong stance. She's going to do this, she's going to do this, and maybe she means it. And then she gets into the position of power, and certain things start getting presented to her, different pressures, and she starts to slide away from that position. You can understand that probably more than a lot of people just by what you observe with George.
Absolutely, and I know the price of uh, keeping yourself faithful to your purposes, like talking the truth, going against a narrative. This can be brutal. You can have a system that is much bigger than you going after you, and only few survives. To I'm not saying only physically, but even reputation wise and character wise. They sometimes they assassinate your character. Other times, as happened tragically with Charlie Kirk, they kill you. So it's a some sort of extreme danger, and I'm sure Giorgia Meloni has been under a lot of pressure. But what I expect in times where a leadership has to mean a change, that's why I'm a big supporter of Donald Trump, by the way, because it's so reckless and it is so moving forward toward this agenda without justifying it with anyone, because not anyone can understand every single piece of the puzzle that is behind this decision. So it's easy to label, oh, is this, is that, is that. But look what the result, and look what, even like I can see since Donald Trump won, even Los Angeles, where I live, is a much cleaner city. You don't, yes, you still have a problem with homelessness, but since law enforcement means something, you feel safer, and that's the truth, it's a fact. So you can see slowly changing things. Nothing happens overnight, but things are changing in United States as well. So I understand what the pressure Meloni is enduring. I have a huge respect for her as a woman, as a young woman, is only I think 49, and she's there as a prime minister of Italy. Chapeau. I mean, I have utmost respect for her and political agenda. I just would like to see this political agenda make Italy what it deserves to be.
Yeah, because it has so much potential, and it used to be, I imagine, you know more than me, so rich with the culture, so Italian everywhere you go, and you could feel that and see that. And you see that in pockets now. Like, I'm in Busto Arsizio, which is near the Malpensa airport in Milano.
I know.
It's a little cheaper to be outside here than in Milano for a bit while I'm filming stuff with people. And me and my fiance both said it feels truly Italian. Obviously, we've been in places that feel that way, but it's like crisp, it's clean, it's nice. There's really minimal migrants. There's some, obviously, but and you only imagine like what could Italy be like if it wasn't so overtaken. It's just
You experience it, you feel it, you're living there, and as you said, such a deep culture, a deep old rooted culture, that it's a very special experience to just wake up in the morning, have your espresso, and with the nonna that is behind the bar, and not some sort of everything that is screams Italian culture every corner, and there's a taste, a specific taste for life, and that's what it's beautiful about cultures. When I go abroad, I wanna experience their culture, I want to experience their history. That's why I'm kind of against this globalization that wants to make us all the same.
I will admit though, I commit a peccato every time I go to the cafe. I order a cappuccino after 12.
Aye, that's you need another ear in Italy. Then you need another ear in Italy. You have to improve that.
Ogni volte lavoratori, they look at me like, che cazzo, what are you doing?
Hi, how do you calculate cappuccino after a pasta?
And now, one
That
thing,
was there.
one thing that's taking over in the culture in Italy, or at least having a big presence, is these mass protests that Italians are doing for a country or a group of people so far away from them. And yet, in the over a year or so I've been here, I have not seen a protest that a big group of Italians do for their own country. What do you make about that, being an Italiana?
But you said it, like, why don't you mobilize yourself for your economy, your unemployment? And there are many health system, there are many other causes so that deserves your attention. But that's how most of protests work. Somebody talk to a group of people, they feel riled up, they feel like complying with the purpose, and the purpose can be right too, but it's not the only purpose that deserves attention. And so you see them like crazy in the streets and in these missions and creating problem to Giorgia Meloni with diplomatic issues for safety. She has to protect her citizens anyway. So this is kind of going wild and a little bit out of proportion. I mean, there are it looks like they're embracing other people's causes while they should also take care of themselves. And it's important to feel, concerned by what's happening everywhere in the world. But even like if we want to talk about this brutal uh, wars, that's not the only war. That's not the only things happening right now. So maybe Italians should inform themselves and not being tools of somebody's agenda. Just be yourself. Just think about what you really believe in.
But it's hard for them because when you have these massive influential figures like the major labor union calling for a sciopero or a strike because the flotilla, the Greta Thunberg's boat, gets stopped. These people look at these influential figures like the labor union, one of the major labor, I don't remember the name.
CGL.
Probabilmente sì.
CISL, una di queste qui.
And they call for a whole sciopero, and I tried to go from here on a 40-minute train ride to Milano yesterday, 2 days ago, when they had the strike. There was not a train, not a bus. You couldn't go.
Yeah, I mean, I completely sympathize with Giorgia Meloni at this point when I was seeing, the mess they're putting this woman in. So, I mean, like, what do you expect? Even if she, let's say, what do you expect her to do? What do they think Italy has the power to do in this situation? That's a real big question I'd like to ask these people.
Yeah,
What do you
exactly.
think we can do? What do you think we can do?
Especially because they're under the limiting power of the EU.
Exactly. So they have to understand a little bit how this EU works. I mean, I know I have a privileged position because I studied there, worked there, so I know what it means. But most of people live in Europe and they really think it's like a ticket to France without a visa. That's what they think Europe is about. You know? That's crazy.
It's true because when I lived in Slovenia 2 summers ago. She's from Slovenia, from Ljubljana, and I would talk to people and I would ask them about the government stuff, the political stuff. And it's amazing how many informed, smart, college attending kids or people, grown adults, they really can't even explain to me how the EU and Parliament and all that works. So if normal, educated people can't understand it, then it's so overwhelming. Of course, they're going to jump in and protest some random thing without realizing how much Brussels holds the power. It's
Yeah, that's really whoever is watching this. You should invite them to just go to website of European Union, explain exactly which power a state has within European Union, which power they don't have. So it's like knocking the wrong door. You can protest, you can go missions, Palestine. You can try to do whatever you want. You're just creating chaos and putting yourself in danger. Just cool down.
what do you think is the real way that Italy can become Italy again? Does it have to break away from the EU?
Uh, well, that would be, there are two Italies as I see, like from Rome up and Rome down. Oh, Italy has a very, very strong identity, a very strong culture. But I'd say like the south of Italy is lead in this extent. Despite everybody's talking down to the south of Italy for economic reason, they talk about mafia, whatever cliche, is out there. But it's such a deep old culture that they're the people that are the first one in charge of guarding their identities. So they would never allow things to happen. They would never allow having anyone telling them that have to I don't know, do Ramadan, or they have to sell kosher in a meat shop. That's not gonna happen, because it starts from the people that make the country, and they have such a strong identity that will just not allow these habits taking over. Now, Rome up, it's different. It's more like projected into toward Europe, and they feel kind of cool, embracing like all these differences. And there is this liberal trend thinking, oh, we are like progressive, right? Denying who we are and giving up our tradition is so progressive. But it's nothing progressive about that. You can be like open-minded as much as you like and still be who you are. And that's the thing people have to understand. You don't need to uh, change your roots, your identity, to integrate with somebody else. You can be yourself and being open to anybody else and still being yourself. So this needs to become something. And also they look at United States, right? They see, oh, they're so diverse, you have so many
Mm.
different people come. But it's a different history. It's a recent history. United States was made by immigrants back in time from Europe, and now it's a completely different thing. So they watch these movies and say, okay, this fits in here too, right? That's how crazy it is sometimes. It's very simple.
That's something I've also noticed living here a bit, is how the lack of proper understanding of the US that the Europeans have, Italians have, and yet they have the strongest opinions possible about they know how the US is just because of all the movies and pop culture. And they've never even been. I have people lecturing me, Simona, about the United States of America, and I'm American.
Yeah, I mean that's something like they lecture me too. I mean, anytime I try to say like, okay, I'm not American
But
as you
you,
are, also, but I've been living here for a while, right? I'm married to an American, so I should have it. Them, they could tell me, no, it's not like that. Okay, how many times have you been to the United States? Never, but I've watched the Beverly Hills 90210. You know?
I know. I was literally at the train station 2 days ago. This lady comes up to me and is talking to me and my fiance, and then she starts talking, and then just starts telling me how bad and unsafe and scary the U.S. is and how bad the food is. I'm like, maybe you have a point on the food, okay, unless you shop at Whole Foods. But
I agree on the food. I know.
why don't we have any bakery, Simona? Huh?
Why don't have any diner in Italy?
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
It's a good point. No diners, no eggs in the morning. So,
But this lady and other people, they try to tell me it's amazing how, because we as Americans, you know, with George and other people, we're not that strongly opinionated about Europe. We admit we don't really know.
we
We're
don't.
like,
You actually Americans don't really care.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, it's just like, oh, there's Europe, okay. But when you start living here, you start really seeing the downward trend of Europe. You see a lot of great things. You know, I love Europe for a lot of reasons, but it's very disappointing to see. Uh, but when you go look at the U.S., it's really exciting.
I tell you, as an Italian, growing up completely European, right? So all my life, born, raised, and career. What I really like about America, it's freedom.
Exactly.
That's what makes me America, love being American as well now, right? Because I became American into a while. So it's freedom, a freedom that starts from here, right? When you have these old habits, culture, everything has to be this way or that way. No, in America, you can be whoever you want, try 1,000 times, fail 1,000 times, and nobody's gonna look at you like you're a crazy person. In Italy, for example, I'm a lawyer by background, but everything I've done, including my fashion business, has been interpreted as crazy. Like, why would a lawyer would do a fashion business? Why would you do this and that? And I think freedom is a big part. To understand Americans, people have to understand freedom. And that's what I love about America. Sorry, Italy.
Exactly.
Sorry, Italy.
Thank you, Simona. That is exactly what I say about America, and it sounds ridiculous. That's exactly what my fiance has said to people about America. It's like, it's the freedom. And it sounds like you're just an idiotic, patriotic, national anthem singing person, but it's true.
I mean, I'm Italian, right? I'm European. I'm saying that. So, what really made me addicted to America, that I miss America when I leave for a while, it's that. Like, oh my God, I miss that. I miss the type of people you meet there, as crazy as they may look, because they're free. So, the freer you are, the craziest you look.
Yeah,
That's
there's
how I see
a
it.
innate enthusiasm I see after I've been abroad a long time. I come back, you get this, you see the enthusiasm on so many people's faces that I don't see in Europe.
No, because they
And
know you can make it. You have an idea, you can make it, you can break it, you can fail 1,000 times, but still you're there, having being yourself and trying yourself. This life is to try. What we're here for, like fit in a box and die in that box? No, I mean, like, that's the beauty of America.
And it's not just the attitude that we have as Americans that, go gettingness, entrepreneurship, maybe not being an entrepreneur, but trying some things you like. But it's also the practicalities. After living in Europe a few times, I have seen how many more tax limitations, keeping you in the system structures they put in place to not let you get out or make it out or get out of the system. They really try to limit you.
Absolutely. Try to build up an enterprise in Italy. It's impossible. Impossible. I mean, like, or in Europe, anywhere else. It's also, even like when I say people talk about Germany, well, we're talking about Germany. Yeah, Germany is so called more, but it's still Europe. It's still this box, it's still this mentality. And of course, we have in Europe incredible industries, car, fashion, anything, but they're few, you know what I mean? Like, they're few
Mm,
big magnets. Well, here the common person can dare to dream big.
mm-hmm.
Well, actually, they because there is an infrastructure helping you. If you want to start a business, you can start a business. You have thousand ways to do that. And in Europe, no, you're right. There are many limitations, and that's I think the biggest reason why such a wonderful country like old Europe is still not taking off as America has done in few years.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense if they incentivize you to stay within the system and there's an attitude by the communal people, to kind of stay the same. Why would they break out? It's so hard. It makes sense. And it's great for me as an American to realize the freedoms and opportunities in America because we don't know that. I know it by going around, living, traveling, and it's cool to hear from a native European, a native Italiana like yourself, just how like alive and vibrant you feel by the American culture. That's so cool to hear.
True. And I'm so happy that there are Americans like you that experience Europe, to tell Europe from their eyes, because not many Americans have tried travel to Europe either. That's so true.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like a superstar when I go home in a way. I tell people where I've been, and it's like, whoa.
Right, Italian culture seen from an American. It's very interesting too to hear, like your perspective and your fiance perspective. I'm sure she is also European, 100%, and now living it with you. She's taking the both culture.
I would say that quickly that Europeans seem more calm and peaceful to me, but Americans seem more enthusiastic and alive. Even if they might be more anxious and overtaken by a lot of things I see, busyness, that's what I sense when I get home. But we have a greater, I don't know, like enthusiasm for life. I see more Europeans being peaceful, more settled, more sometimes they appreciate the small things and the deeper things sometimes in life I see. But we just have this energy about us. And it's,
True, and it's also because it's nothing is granted here, right? You have the freedom
mm,
to make things, while in Europe, people have a more comfortable, let's say they're in the comfort zone. Here, you're constantly in action. You succeed in something, you have to think the next, because you can fail the next day. That's what people don't understand. They think, oh, you're lucky. No, you're not lucky at all. You
mm.
just have to actually, my history. I've seen the good and the bad of America, but I would say the worst, the political chapter of America, which comes to bureaucratic institution, the deep state targeting people. That's the dark side. But on the light side, what made America great in the 90s, which I wish, I always say, George, I'm jealous of you because I was in school in 90s. I wanted to be in school in 90s in the United States. I think there was like such a vibrant energy, like a motivation to do anything you want, become anything you like. The sky's the limit. Go. I like that. I really like that. So I became very, energized by that.
And you, out of all people, would have the excuse to have a tainted negative attitude towards the U.S. by seeing the deep state operation, by seeing the targeting that goes on, and yet you don't have a negative
No,
attitude. It's amazing.
thank you. And you know why? Because I didn't succumb to that. I
Hmm.
fought back, and America rewarded me. Like they love resilience. You can see resilience is rewarded. Opportunity comes. So you just stand up and do it again. And these things happen everywhere, but here becomes a scandal. That's the difference.
Hmm.
You have a corrupt deep state everywhere, and in this Russia, oaks. Italy was involved, UK were involved. We know there are many countries that took part of the same scam.
But it's still an amazing country to live in, isn't it? USA. It's
I,
just
I love it. Yeah, you can
you.
use. I'm making you miss USA now.
You are. You are. You are. You are. You are. You are. Simona, I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm excited for especially some of these clips I can make out of this to hear from an Italian about the U.S. and about what's going on in Italy right now from someone who's lived in both cultures because some of this messaging needs to be heard, and people need to realize some of the things going on in Italy.
Yeah, and that's sad to see. I mean, I hate, honestly, I hate going back to Italy and seeing the beauty of Italy, which is its culture, its roots, its history, taking over by culture that have nothing to do with us, and hear about story of attacks and aggression on the metro, on the tube in Milan, and having people, women, like I heard, like women raped, which is completely unheard of. I mean, like I never heard of so many aggressions ever before, or killing or things like that. This is not Italy. And there is a way, and the way is exit European Union. I said that. I'm like, if I was anywhere nearby politics, I would advocate for it so strongly every day. There is no need to be in European Union as it is. Absolutely. You can have bilateral agreements, you can have many things, and taking control of your country, taking back. That's the only way.
I think so too. I totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you, Simona. Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Grazie mille. Ciao. Have a
Ciao.
great day.